You're watching CCN, Clarksville Community Network. Produced by Goodwin Productions. Powered by CDE Lightband.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Clarksville's Political Forum. I'm Vincent Stokes, your moderator for this session. And on behalf of Leadership Clarksville and your Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce, we're glad you could join us. In this session, we will hear from candidates who will be on the ballot in the Democratic Party primary on October the 7th. Now, this primary election will be held in conjunction with the specially called election to fill the unexpired term for District 7 in the United States House of Representatives. Following the primaries, the specially called general election will take place on December the 2nd. This election is being conducted to fill the seat of former Representative Mark Green, who resigned from his position in July. The candidates who will be on the ballot for the Democratic Party in the October the 7th primary are Mr. Bo Mitchell, Mr. Darden Copeland, and Mr. Vincent Dixie. The 7th Congressional District of Tennessee is located in parts of Middle and West Tennessee. Although most of the area is rural, a significant amount of the district's votes are cast in Davidson County, Montgomery County, and Williamson County. The district also includes the Tennessee portion of Fort Campbell. We will begin this session with each candidate having 2 minutes in which to present opening remarks. Following this segment, we will then turn to our panelists for questions. Joining us as panelists today are Mr. J. Albertia, Ms. Lorneth Peters, and Ms. Erin Yao. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to each question, with the first response coming in a rotating order. And at the conclusion of the questioning, each candidate will have 2 minutes in which to present closing statements. Closing statements will be given in reverse order from their opening statements. Our timekeeper, once again, Mr. Phil Harpel. Now let's go to our candidates for opening comments. We will hear first from Mr. Bo Mitchell.
Hey, thank y'all. Thank y'all for having us today. I'm Bo Mitchell. I'm a state representative, a husband, and father of 2 boys. I've served my constituents in the State House for the past 13 years. Now I'm running for Congress. It's nice to be back in Clarksville. I used to work for the Chamber of Commerce for a couple of years, several years ago, and it's good to be back among friends. Look, this will be one of the first special elections after the passage of the big, beautiful mess of a bill, which will kick thousands of Tennesseans off of health care. I grew up with the experience of losing health care. When I was 10 years old, my father had a massive heart attack that required open heart surgery, and our insurance company raised our rates to where we couldn't afford them, and we lost our health care. I know what it's like to be sick and not be able to go to the doctor. I know what it's like to get injured in the backyard playing football and not be able to go to the doctor. No Tennessean should have to deal with that in this state. All eyes are going to be on Tennessee for this special election. Democrats need someone who will go to Washington and fight for them for a change. This district needs representation that will represent them. I have a track record throughout my career of fighting for the working men and women of Tennessee, and I'll continue to do so. I appreciate y'all having me here today, and thank you.
Thank you very much for those opening comments. We'll hear next opening remarks from Mr. Darden Copeland.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me. My name is Darden Copeland, and I've founded my own business and several businesses here in Middle Tennessee. I have a record of winning tough fights and getting results. I've elected several members of Congress from my days in running political campaigns, and I've gotten results for businesses, nonprofits, and communities all across the country. I've helped build 10 gigawatts of renewable energy power. That's enough to power every single household in Kentucky, Alabama, and Tennessee combined. I've helped build hospitals and surgery centers in rural America. I've helped build housing, which includes affordable housing, senior housing, disability, age-restricted, memory care, recovery, and rehabilitation centers. We've helped pass referendums on transit referendums and bonding measures that fund our schools. My mother worked the overnight shifts in the local factory in town. My father worked in a commercial laundry. My sister served in the Air Force. My little brother joined a labor union so that he could keep a job and grow into a career. I'm married with a beautiful wife and 2 great kids. I coach every single one of their sports teams. I've never run for political office before. I've never been elected to anything other than elder at my church. I'm active in my church, serve on various nonprofit boards, and I've led mission trips to Guatemala and other communities of need. I come from the working class, and I've built my American dream the old-fashioned way. I'm running because I'm fed up with watching the party of the working class continue to fail and get distracted by cultural issues. I'm fed up by ineffective politicians who are more interested in fighting with each other than they are fighting for their constituents. I'm fed up with politics as usual. We need new faces, we need new ideas, we need somebody with a business background. We need somebody who can get things done and change the tone in Washington. We need somebody who can get results for District 7. My name is Darden Copeland, and I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear opening comments from Mr. Vincent Dixie.
Hello, I am State Representative Vincent Dixie. I have served parts of Davidson County and Nashville, and I've been there for the past 7 years and in my 4th term. I am a small business owner. I guess you'd say I'm a serial entrepreneur. I opened one of my first offices, and it's still here to this day, right on Public Square. So when I finish here, I walk over there and check on things to make sure everything's going okay. But this is a very important race for us here. We have an opportunity to do something special. Yes, it's a special election, but we have an opportunity to really flip this seat. And we can do that if we work together. There's some things that we have to work together on. Life is becoming so expensive right now, and it's very expensive to be poor. We're all struggling with affordability right now. We're paying more for our food, we're paying more for our housing, we're paying more for our health care. And no one in Washington is fighting for the everyday person. My mom worked, she was a member of the CWA union, the Communications Workers of America, for 30 years. And she never made over $28,000 a year. But I saw how a family of a union could work together. And it's taught me my work ethic that I have today. And my mom also taught me to also give back, and that's why I'm running for office, because there's people that need to give back and help out. We've been families where you live paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth, not really sure of make sure you're going to have enough money to pay for your bills. But it's important for us to have someone in that seat that is going to fight for everyday people. I'm that person because I am one of us. And I'm Vincent Dixie, and I appreciate your time. And thank you all for being here and giving us this time. It's very important.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your opening comments. We will turn now to our panelists. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer every question. We'll begin with Mr. J. Albertia. Your question will be responded to first by Mr. Bo Mitchell.
Good morning. How are y'all? My first question is going to be the easiest one, I think, of the whole thing. How do you see yourself different from the rest of the candidates? How do you differentiate yourself from them?
Well, you know, my first race for the state house, the Republicans had gerrymandered the district into a 55-45 Republican seat. I ran in 2012 that year. I won by 1/10 of 1 percentage point. Obama was running for re-election the same year. He lost my district by 21 percentage points. So I have the ability to reach out and get people who are not voting just solely party lines and cross those party lines and vote for me. I'm from Charlotte, Tennessee, Dixon County, rural part of the district. I've worked for a state senator in the rural areas. I've worked here in Clarksville. So I have ties with the entire district. You know, my opponents mainly are all from Davidson County. So I see myself as the person who can reach out across this district.
Thank you. Next response comes from Mr. Darden Copeland.
Thank you for the question. I am the only non-elected official or non-elected candidate in the Democratic primary. We have a slew of career politicians on both sides of the aisle, and I'm a little tired of sort of politics as usual and the bickering back and forth. I'm a coalition builder. I've never backed down from a fight. I'm not afraid of a fight, but it's not my default setting. I like to work across the aisle. I like to build coalitions, and I get results that way. I've gotten results in the solar industry, the housing industry, expanding healthcare. We don't need a protester-in-chief. We don't need career politicians. What works in New York City or Vermont or the Bronx doesn't necessarily work right here. So I think I'm a consensus builder. I come from rural America as well. And I'm also, I come to the table with a business background, having built several successful businesses. And I think we need that perspective right now in Washington.
Thank you.
That was bothering me. Let's go ahead and state the obvious. I'm black. So that is the one thing that's going to differentiate us between each other. But the other thing we have, I'm a fighter. And we have to fight these people on the other side because we know that we're on the right side of history. And we know that what we do is to help people. The laws that we actually propose help people. And I've proposed several laws, and as the former state caucus chair of the Democratic caucus, I've gone all across this state to help build these groups of people from the grass tops to the treetops and organizations to try to get them to work together, because that's the only way that we can change what's going on in our district and what's going on here in Tennessee. People don't have anybody to fight for them, and they feel like they need somebody, they need that voice, and I am that voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lorneth Peters, you have the next question, and the first response will come from Mr. Copeland.
If elected, Mr. Copeland, what will you consider to be your top 3 priorities?
Sure. Great question. I think, healthcare is certainly top of the list. I think with the big bad bill that just passed through Congress, we're stripping healthcare out of 300,000 Tennesseans, many of whom live in this district. We're going to be closing hospitals, surgical centers, senior care facilities. That impacts the entire ecosystem. So I think, role number 1 is to try and restore some of the cuts to Medicaid that, frankly, won't go into effect until after the 2026 midterms. The Republicans know how bad that bill is and how it affects people, that they push the effects of it until after the midterms. I think the other one is just getting the economy going again. I think most people go to bed at night worried about their safety and their security around the economy. Is my 401k going to be there? Is Social Security going to be there when I need it? Is my job going to be there? Is the health care that I have, is that still going to be there? So I think getting our hands around the economy and trying to restart it and sort of undo what's been done. The big bad bill, it's the largest transfer of wealth in the history of our nation. We added $3 trillion to the debt, and we have to find a way that working class folks and folks in District 7 can still afford the American dream.
Thank you. Mr. Dixie, you have the next response.
Thank you. My top 3 issues that I would like to deal with is affordability, which I spoke on when I spoke on earlier in my opening statement. Affordability means affordability of housing. Right now we have these huge corporations coming in, buying up our communities and raising the housing prices. The average family, the average person can't buy a house because these hedge funds come in with these globs of cash and they outbid us and they can close faster. And that's one way that we can kind of stop. We should be able to put a cap on what we're doing as how many they can purchase. Second is we got to protect our safety nets, the Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. That needs to be there. People have paid in it. People need that, and we need to make sure those things are there. The last one is we need to protect our Department of Education. Right now it's under attack, and if we don't protect our education and teach our younger people, our children, how to become leaders and be leaders in this global economy, this country is going to fall. Not only Tennessee is already behind in in education. So we have to bring that back. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bo Mitchell.
Yeah, like some of my fellow candidates said, the big beautiful bill is going to cut over 300,000 Tennesseans off health care. I'm going to go to Washington and fight for Tennesseans' health care. Second, the big beautiful mess of a bill also limited access to student loans. Those student loans are opportunities. Give somebody an opportunity to get an education, they can better themselves. So that's a second thing I will fight for. Third is child care. You know, the administration is holding back funding that has already been passed for after school care and child care in this country. And parents need that to be able to work, to make a living, and be able to support their family. So those three things: health care, education, and child care. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Erin Yao, you have the next question, and the first response will come from Mr. Vincent Dixie.
In your opinion, what's the most critical economic issue we face, and what specific plan do you have to address it?
Again, it goes back to affordability. And I talk about housing, and we already talked about that, and we talk about food. And when I talk about food, we need to talk about the transparency of how much food is actually costing. Right now, I'm a small business owner. I own a dump truck as well. And last year this time, I was running that dump truck almost 24 hours a day. This time, I'm lucky if I get through Friday. So what is that telling me? That the tariffs and the immigration policies that we have are impacting our economy right now. Because if we don't have the workers and we don't have the people to do the work, it's hard for us right now. And also, we need to have transparency in pricing. So when we go to the grocery store, we should pass a policy that you need to state how much you are actually charging because of the tariff. And I think that will keep us from price gouging, because I think that's what we're doing right now. That's why our groceries are higher than they were 2 years ago and 4 years ago. So there's an opportunity for us to put some policies in place so people will actually have some transparency and truth in pricing.
Thank you. Mr. Bo Mitchell, you have the next response.
The biggest thing affecting our economy right now is poor judgment of the current administration. You know, the tariffs are going to raise prices, limit supply for goods in this country. Poor judgment of attacking the Fed and trying to put your finger on the scale and decide what the interest rate should be is terrible for the economy, and just poor judgment all around, you know, with decisions affecting our economy. You know, the stock market shouldn't be on a roller coaster ride because of the poor judgment of the current administration.
Mr. Copeland, you have the last response on this question.
I think an important problem right now is that, you know, we have a lack of check and balances in Washington right now. We have Trump and his administration sort of passing anything they want to at will, but they're passing Congress by single digits, by 1 and 2 votes in the House. When the big bad bill passed through the House, it passed by one single solitary vote, 215 to 214. So taking a seat that's currently held or was held by Mark Green and putting a Democrat there, I think that helps restore a sense of balance in the economy and in this administration. So I think we have to have a better sense of checks and balances. When NPR was cut and public broadcast, when that was cut, that passed by 2 votes in the House, 214 to 212. And so, you know, our country was founded on a sense of checks and balances, and we're supposed to keep everything in check. And right now it's sort of out of control. And that's allowed this administration to sort of completely rob from the working class and the folks that have started small businesses and give that to the 1% of the 1% that didn't even frankly ask for it. So if we can't restore checks and balances, we're never going to level out the economy and the folks that work, you know, hard for a paycheck every day.
Thank you. Mr. J. Albertia, let's circle back to you for the next question. And the first response to this question will come from Mr. Bo Mitchell.
All right. Do you advocate for higher taxes on the wealthy and an adjustment to the corporate tax rate to achieve a more equitable balance in taxes?
I think, you know, the big beautiful bill extended tax breaks for the 20% wage earner, the highest 20% wage earners in our country, and raised the taxes on the lowest 20% wage earners in our country. That's fundamentally wrong. Everyone should pay their fair share, but giving those tax cuts to billionaires is not the way you achieve fairness in our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you can come back up, Mr. Copeland, for the second response to this question.
Well, I do think there's something wrong when the mega corporations like the Apples and Amazons of the world are paying zero in taxes. So I do think there's an imbalance there, whether it's the marginal or the tax rate or the tax write-offs and the tax breaks that have been given to some of these corporations. We need to take a look at that. I think it's also a problem when the CEO of a company is paying less in taxes than the folks that work for them. I've built several small businesses. I've signed the backs of checks. I also signed the front of checks. And I know that we have to be fair and equitable to the business owners because they do create the jobs, certainly the small businesses. But yes, I think on the mega corporations that are in the billions of dollars, we have to take a look at those tax rates.
Thank you. Mr. Dixie.
Thank you. In short answer is yes. We need to make sure that the tax code is rewritten. We have a commander-in-chief that has bragged about cheating the tax code and using it to benefit him to pay less taxes. We all know that people who are paying the most taxes are the small business owners and people who have W-2 paychecks. And we have to do something to offset that right now. It's not fair that these billionaires and these large corporations pay zero tax breaks. They have zero tax breaks, have zero taxes in this particular economy because people are struggling right now and people need to be able to pay in and get out because when they're not paying their fair taxes, it's trickling down. We're having a hard time with our Social Security benefits because people aren't paying into it because they can't afford to, and these companies are not giving them a fair wage in order to do this. But we have to make sure that the tax code is more balanced so that the people who make more should pay more.
Thank you very much. We now turn to Ms. Lorneth Peters for the next question, and the first response will come from Mr. Copeland.
Mr. Copeland, how do you plan, if elected, to support our military?
A number of ways. I mean, certainly with the number of veterans that we have in the state, we have 400,000 veterans in the state. It's about 8% of our population, and so we have to take care of our veterans because they have served our country with distinction. I think our military, I think that sometimes we get a little distracted in the Democratic Party over, certain issues, and my sister served in the Air Force. My grandfather served in the Navy. My best friend was a Black Hawk pilot. So I know those issues, and we have to make sure that the funding is there for our military, and let's not get distracted by some of the cultural issues that are confronting the nation. I'm not sure that we need our military on the streets patrolling Washington, D.C. or other places and doing cleanup and paperwork. We have the best trained military in the world, and they should be used to fight foreign terrorists and opposition, not being used here to police our folks here at home.
Thank you. Mr. Vincent Dixie.
Thank you. My brother and my oldest brother and my father, they were in the Air Force. My oldest brother retired from the Air Force, and my middle brother was in the Navy. So we know that in Montgomery County and Davidson County are probably the two largest populations of veterans in this area. And we know that Fort Campbell is one of the largest employers around here as well. Now, when the soldiers are deployed, they're having a hard time keeping the economy going because the people that are staying behind, they either go back home or they leave to go somewhere else because they don't have the support system around here. Fort Campbell right now is operating on like a 30%, 40% rate. And we need to do something to make sure that we support them, that they can support more jobs there to help people in those areas and get that base running at its optimal rate. Because our military also, they have the highest rate of suicide. So we need to make sure that they have the mental health and the insurance that they can have in order to help them get through the toughest part because they served us, and it's time that we take care of the people who served us. And thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell.
Again, I go back to the poor judgment of the current administration. The DOGE cuts to the VA administration is crippling that in providing health care and services to our veterans. But most importantly, I'm going to support the military, but I'm going to use someone who knows what the military needs more than me. I've been fortunate to meet Commanding General David Gardner up here at the 101st. I'm going to rely upon him to give me information of what he and his troops need and what I need to advocate for in Congress. You know, there's 30,000 troops at Fort Campbell, and we need to protect them as well as it protects the economy of this area, Clarksville area, the MSA, by protecting Fort Campbell.
Thank you very much. Ms. Erin Yao, you have the next question, and Mr. Vincent Dixie, you have the next response.
Can you discuss your position on voter rights and access to the polls?
It's almost like you wrote this question for me, but this is an opportunity. Every year I've always proposed bills that automatically restore felons getting their voting rights back, because I truly believe, like, once you served your time, you've paid your debt to society. But here in the United States, especially in Tennessee, we continue to punish people all the time. Even once you get a felony, you really have a life sentence. It's just that you're not in jail. Once you serve your time in the prison or you finish your probation, you're stuck because that label follows you forever. And we need to make sure here in Tennessee, we're 51st in voter turnout. Tennessee doesn't have to be red. We don't know what we are because we have a voter engagement problem. And because the other side does a very good job of disenfranchising us and teaching us that our vote doesn't really matter. We're here to fight for you because our vote means so much. And if it didn't mean so much, why would they continue to try to keep us from voting? Thank you.
Mr. Bo Mitchell.
We live in a state that does not allow college students to vote. You know, that's a serious problem. We make it so hard for someone who lost their voting rights because of incarceration. It's impossible for them to get it back. Like my colleague said, we're 51st in the nation in voting. That's a tragedy. But that's not the citizens' fault. That's the fault of the coordinator of elections and the Secretary of State's office in this state. They've meant to do that. They have stopped. They've done everything they could to put up barriers to people voting in this state. We should make it as easy as possible for our citizens to be able to vote in this state. For a college student to come into this state where the main source of taxation in this state is a sales tax, and they're not allowed to vote, that's taxation without representation. Those young people are not allowed to vote. Thanks.
Thank you. And Mr. Darden Copeland.
The trouble with going third when some of the best answers have been given, we are 51st in turnout. Our absentee ballot rules are archaic. They do not suit modern needs. President Trump wants to take away mail-in ballots, and I don't know how many members of the service we have overseas right now, but he wants to take away the ability for folks to mail in their ballots. He wants to do away with voting machines. He says that somehow they're corrupt and they're going to lead to cheating. Our voter registration rules are so archaic in the state. Bo mentioned it, petty crimes. If you're committed of a petty crime, it is impossible, near impossible, to get your voting rights restored. And same thing for college students. But I would challenge my colleagues here who are in the state legislature, voting and voting rights, it's not a federal issue, it's a state issue. The state sets the rules on that. And so I know that they're upset about this, but we haven't been able to make those changes in the state legislature. So I would challenge them to get back to the State House, and let's get to work on that.
Thank you very much. I want to remind you that Election Day for the primaries is October the 7th, and early voting will be conducted from September the 17th through October the 2nd. All registered voters are eligible to vote early. No reason is required to vote early. Early voting is held at the Election Commission office located at Montgomery County Veterans Plaza. That's 350 Pageant Lane. In order to vote in the primary election, you must choose which party, Republican or Democratic, that you wish to vote in. The state of Tennessee is an open primary state, meaning a registered voter must declare their political party preference in order to vote in a primary. And the specially called general election will be held on December the 2nd. Let's go back for the last round of questions from each of our panelists. Let's begin with Albertia. Your question will go to Mr. Bo Mitchell.
Considering the global and domestic landscape that we live in, what do you perceive as the most pressing national security issue that we face, and how do we address it?
Oh, without a doubt, China is our most serious national security threat. You know, the current administration, with their backtracking on clean energy, is allowing China to get so many decades in front of us on that. With the poor judgment of the current administration, more or less giving the green light so far to the Russians to take land in Ukraine, that's just sending a message to the Chinese that, hey, maybe we can invade Taiwan and that will be okay. We have to keep the standards up that China knows that if they do X, we will respond firmly. And I don't know if the current administration is doing that. As they say, Taco, Trump always chickens out. He keeps threatening all these tariffs on China, and then when push comes to shove, he stops.
Thank you. Mr. Copeland.
I think we have a president who promised, no more foreign wars, and he angles to get a Nobel Peace Prize, but yet he's still inserting or allowing these conflicts to continue, not just in China, vis-a-vis Taiwan, but in Russia, Ukraine, and in the Middle East. And I think that we need to have an immediate ceasefire abroad. I think we need to be a nation of peacekeepers and diplomacy builders so that we can sort of level set the global economy and have a little more certainty back at home. We see businesses here in the United States that, the stock market is up and down, interest rates are not, settled. There's a lot of uncertainty at home because of everything that's going on abroad. So I think that we need to get our house in order. We need to stop playing politics at the national level. We need to stop bending to, Putin and other dictators. And we need to be a little more firm with folks like Netanyahu and others. So we need a little more calm and a little more, Trump is sort of moving fast and trying to break things, and he's going to break the global economy if we're not careful. Having checks and balances, having another voice in Congress that can hold them accountable and create that check and balance, I think that's the way to help solve it.
Thank you. And the last response to this question will come from Mr. Vincent Dixie.
I think our biggest threat to national security is the president right now. He has weakened our national security. He's weakened our armed force. We're a laughingstock around the nation. We normally were the peacekeepers of the world. Now it's almost like we're for sale, or whatever you can do for him, or enrich yourself, or ingratiate yourself to his company. That's what America has become. We have not invested in our children. If you can see with the Department of Education, he's weakening us on a global scale. We are not going to be able to compete in this economy because we're not preparing our people for the future. And I think that he has done such a horrible job of representing us across the world that people look at us as a laughingstock right now. We're a joke in other countries. And I think when people look at you as a joke, it gives an opening for them to attack because they don't take us seriously. We are not the world force that we once were. And we can bring that back with the change of just voting.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lorneth Peters, you have the next question, and it will go for the first response to Mr. Darden Copeland.
Mr. Copeland, if elected, how do you plan to tackle the housing challenges we're currently facing?
Yeah, fortunately, I sort of know a little something about some of the affordability issues that we're facing right now. I have a track record of getting results in communities all across this country. My public affairs firm, we are retained by individual housing authorities and local governments and also some private developers to help build affordable housing. Some of that is at the local level. It might not be a federal issue, whether it be zoning and that type of thing, but we have a track record of going in and building coalitions with local governments to see that developers come to the table with housing authorities, with the nonprofit and social groups that want to see affordable housing built. So a track record across 46 different states in building that, not just for affordable housing, but multifamily housing, senior housing, folks with disabilities. We've been on the ground and getting those results day in and day out. So I have a history of that, and I can bring that to Congress.
Thank you. Mr. Dixie.
I agree with the candidate just before what he said. But before we can even get to the state level of what he wanted to do, we have to do on the federal level is to limit the housing that a corporation can come in and buy. These hedge funds are literally coming and buying up our communities. And it's not just happening in Tennessee, it's happening all over the country. And they come in and they buy these houses with cash and they turn them into rental communities. And they base their profits margins based on how much they charge for rent. So if you call it 10 o'clock in the morning, it's one price. And if you call it 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's another price. It's all based off of algorithm. And we can stop that and get control of the housing on a federal level if we can stop them from buying up communities in mass. That is the number one thing that we must stop right now. And that's happening all over the country. And I think there's an opportunity for us to take some action because we're building houses, but people can't afford them. You know, no one can, it's hard to afford a $500,000 house in this economy right now when the jobs aren't paying that much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bo Mitchell.
Owning your home is the American dream. Just imagine if we took the funds that the current administration quadrupled the budget of ICE and we put that in housing and urban development. How many houses could be built in this nation to provide low interest loans for working people to be able to get those houses? What if the current congressman went to D.C. and actually went for earmarks that would come back to the major cities in this district for programs that built affordable housing? That's what I want to do. I want to get to D.C. and fight for the funds for affordable housing for all across this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Erin Yao, you have the final question to our candidates, and it will be addressed to Mr. Vincent Dixie.
What role do you believe social media should play in an election campaign?
It's a tool. It's just a tool. That's all. It's one tool in the toolbox. Yes, you have to reach people by social media because nowadays, if we could just reach the ages from 18 to 25 and get them engaged and get them voting, they can change any election in Tennessee, in the world, really. So we definitely need to have that tool, but we still need conventional mailers. We still got to get out and knock on doors. We still got to have town halls. We have to have forums like this because we have to have a plethora of information to get out to people because everybody isn't on the internet. Everybody doesn't read the newspaper, the hard copy newspaper. Some people remember what those are. But people don't have phones all the time and like to get their information. But it's also important that we keep the disinformation out there, and people have to learn from who are the trusted sources. So it's important that we do use social media, but we do it in a mindful manner and it doesn't spread disinformation and that actually engages and educates our constituents. Thank you.
Mr. Bo Mitchell.
Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil in today's campaigns. There's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter /X. We're on all these platforms. You're trying to keep up with, people. That's just another way, especially as a state representative, that my constituents have another way to reach me, for me to better represent them, answer their questions, follow up on their needs. So it's a tool that you have to use in today's society, especially for the younger people. The 18 to 24-year-olds in Tennessee last time, 6% of eligible voters, 18 to 24, voted in our last election. So whatever we need to do to reach as many people as we can to get them to the ballot box and to keep them informed. And as my colleague said, the misinformation out there is scary. So, we also need regulations regarding that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Darden Copeland.
Yeah, I think the role of social media in campaigns is a two-edged sword. I think that it can be dangerous. I think there's some good things, and we pointed that out, getting news out there, notifying of events, reaching people that might not otherwise be reached. We have to meet people where they are in some cases. but I think it can be pretty bad. The algorithms, are such that they're designed to make money for the social media companies, right? And so they track sort of what people are clicking on, what they're watching, what they're not watching, and it pushes people into their corners. And we're pushing people to the far left and to the far right based on what they're watching. And the social media companies keep feeding that to these individuals, and that's further polarizing our communities and our politics. We have candidates now that are talking in sound bites on social media. We had one candidate in the race who's not here, who was out on the streets in Clarksville interviewing a homeless veteran and putting that on social media to politicize it and draw support to her campaign. I'm not for that. I'm launching a town hall tour of every single county in this district to go meet with people face to face and not just over social media. So more details on that to come. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And candidates, thank you for those responses to the questions from our panelists. We will now go to closing comments from each of our candidates. They will be given in reverse order from the opening comments. We will hear first from Mr. Vincent Dixie.
Again, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for having this event and giving us a chance to get the word out. Again, I'm State Representative Vincent Dixie, and I think that we have a golden opportunity here in front of us to flip this seat, to get some sanity back into our federal government. It's going to take someone like me, that as your next congressman, to go and fight against rising prices, to fight for your health care, and to make sure that we try to fix these broken political system that we have right now. I have to truly believe that most people live in the middle, and they just care about four things. They want to make sure they have money to pay their bills, they want to make sure they have food on their table, a roof over their head, and if they get sick, to go see a doctor. That's what we need to be focusing on right now. But instead, we're worried about everything else. We need to take care of people's basic needs. And there's policies that can fix that. Policies are causing poverty. And if policies can cause poverty, they can fix poverty. We can fix the pricing issue. We can make policies to do that. We can do some things for affordable housing. We can protect our health care, not just our Medicaid and Medicare, but our just regular health care that we have when we go to jobs and we pay as regular workers. And someone has to go to Washington to fight for everyday people. I am an everyday person, was raised by a single mother, and it's time that we go and you elect someone who understands you, that has walked in your shoes, that knows how to fight, that knows how to maneuver through the political system. And I am that person. I am State Representative Vincent Dixie. I humbly ask for your support, and more importantly, I ask for your vote on September the 17th and October the 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will have closing comments from Mr. Darden Copeland.
Well, I want to thank the Chamber for hosting such an event, our panelists and moderator, and I want to thank everybody that's tuned in online to watch the recast of this. Thank you all very much for being engaged. I think this election was sort of designed by the Republican Party, the outgoing congressman, and our governor to sort of suppress the turnout. There are 9 counties that will have fall break when this election comes on October the 7th, and on December the 2nd, when the general election happens, we will just be getting back from Thanksgiving break. And so I'm encouraged that everybody is participating like this. I'm running because I'm 47 years old, and I've never run for office before in my life. Phil Bredesen was 47 years old when he first got elected to office. And I think we need somebody with sort of some common sense and a business background that's not politics as usual, that's not a career politician, that can come into Washington and sort of change the tone. I'm not in this campaign to raise my profile. I'm in this campaign to raise the bar on what it means to serve the district of the 7th District of Tennessee. I'm fed up with ineffective politicians that are more interested in fighting each other than they are fighting for the district. I'm tired of the party of the working class. You know, the brand of the Democratic Party is not doing well right now. But if you explain what we stand for, I think we can win this district in December. And that's why I'm running. We need new faces, new ideas, somebody with that business background, somebody that can get results. I have a history of doing that. My name is Darden Copeland. I would appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And lastly, we will hear closing comments from Mr. Bo Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you. Thank the Chamber. Thank our panelists for having us today. Bottom line is we have a window of opportunity that has been opened by the resignation of the congressman. This window of opportunity is open to give Democrats a chance to take back a seat that many things have been passed in Congress by one vote. We can stop that. But this window of opportunity is only open if we nominate someone with electability. I've run 7 times in the state house. The first time, as I told you earlier, I won by 1/10 of 1 percentage point. The next 2 elections, I was the number 1 target for the Republican Party for the next 2 cycles. They came at me with all they had. In 2014, someone named Betsy DeVos dropped, her and one of her hedge fund buddies dropped $250,000 in my election in the last 2 weeks. I didn't know who Betsy DeVos was. I found out real quick. But the Republicans have come after me time and time again, and I've been able to turn them back because my constituents know that I serve all the constituents of my district. Funny story. My son was in my truck the other day. A lady called, and, I helped her out. And my son said, "Well, Dad, that lady's going to vote for you. You helped her out." I said, "Son, she always has my opponent's sign in her yard." And he said, "Dad, why did you help her?" I said, "Because, son, I was elected to represent everybody in my district, not just the people who voted for me." So I plan on going to Congress representing this entire district, but we got to nominate someone who can close the gap in those rural areas, and I intend on doing that. I'm Bo Mitchell. I'm running for Congress. Please go to votebo.com.
And thank you each for your closing comments here in this session. And I want to say thank you to our candidates for sharing your time and your thoughts with us here today and for being willing to serve as the representative from Tennessee's District 7 in the United States House of Representatives. Remember, early voting for this specially called primary election will take place September the 17th through October the 2nd. The location will be at the Election Commission office at 350 Pageant Lane. Once again, the specially called general election will be Tuesday, December the 2nd. Thanks also to our panelists today, Mr. J. Albertia, Ms. Lorneth Peters, and Ms. Erin Yao, and also thanks to our timekeeper, Mr. Phil Harpel. And also thanks to the staff here at the Customs House Museum and Cultural Center for hosting today's forum. And thanks also to Leadership Clarksville and your Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce and to Rick Goodwin Productions for making this forum possible. Until next time, I'm Van Stokes. Thank you for watching.
For current and exclusive content, subscribe to CDE Lightband, connecting you at the speed of light.